Appraisals are powerfully important. For example, they determine how much a lender will offer in financing a mortgage, and that in turn affects the price that a seller can get. If homes are accurately appraised, then the process works like it should. But Black and Hispanic homeowners have consistently faced discrimination in the appraisal process. According to a recent study, homes in majority Black neighborhoods are valued 23% lower than homes with similar characteristics in white majority neighborhoods, resulting in more than $150 billion in lost wealth for Black families. Because home ownership is the number one way that middle-class families build wealth, the disparities in home valuation help perpetuate the racial wealth gap. Now, research shows that the persistent undervaluation of Black and Hispanic-owned homes is due in part to unconscious bias among appraisers. So it's not surprising that automated valuation models, AVMs, computer programs that use data to estimate home values, have been held up as an alternative. The argument goes that by taking the human element out of the appraisal process, we can eliminate bias and discrimination, which sounds terrific. But the reality of these algorithms is a whole lot more complicated. Ms. Taylor, you lead the Biden administration's interagency task force to root out racial discrimination in the appraisal process. Have AVMs produced the unbiased, error-free valuations that home lenders and homeowners were counting on?
Thank you for that question, Senator Warren. We looked at the Urban Institute's study, which found that AVMs in majority Black neighborhoods produce larger errors relative to the underlying sales price than AVMs in majority white neighborhoods, potentially contributing to the wide housing wealth gap between Black and white homeowners. Additionally, we believe that, while AVMs have the potential, if properly used, to reduce human bias and improve consistency in decision-making. However, just like human biased appraisals, they're not immune from the risk of discrimination. A phrase that oftentimes many people use, data, bad data in equals bad outcomes. And we believe that we have to ensure that AVMs are responsible or the models are responsibly created.
So I want to underscore the point you're making because I think it's a very good point. The key issue is that AVMs are only as good as the data they use and the algorithms that interpret those data. And too often, these algorithms are just a black box with little visibility into the data and the modeling that are going on inside. And if the underlying data itself reflect past racial discrimination, AVMs may end up compounding disparities in valuation rather than reducing them. So let me just ask you a couple of pieces about this so we can disaggregate this a little bit. Ms. Taylor, majority Black neighborhoods tend to have a higher share of distressed home sales than majority white neighborhoods. Is that fact likely to contribute to AVMs systematically undervaluing Black-owned homes?
Yes, ma'am.
Majority Black neighborhoods also have lower household incomes on average. So, Ms. Taylor, is that likely to contribute to AVMs undervaluing Black-owned homes?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about if neighborhoods are gentrifying? Is that likely to contribute to the undervaluing of Black-owned homes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. We pulled apart some of the pieces. The way I see this is that closing the racial wealth gap means that we need to confront decades of racist federal housing policies like redlining that helped create it in the first place. And part of this means ensuring that the legacies of racial discrimination aren't coded into the algorithms that have direct and real impact on families' wealth. Without proper guardrails and oversight, AVMs may reinforce racial disparities in the appraisal process and actually worsen the racial wealth gap. That's why I was very glad to see the CFPB take a step toward issuing rules on combating algorithmic bias in AVMs. Regulators should follow their lead and take the necessary steps to make sure that AVMs aren't putting home ownership and wealth building even further out of reach for families of color. Thank you very much for your work. Thank you for being here today. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having this hearing.